goodies. We've been down this road before, so I'm not gonna like show all of the stuff I got. I've been wanting to talk about boys for a while and talk about like my dating experience and just like epiphanies that I've come to while like thinking about dating and like the whole ideology and thought process of like my brain. I've attempted dating a couple times, and I say attempted very loosely because I've come to realize a lot of situations I feel like I tend to self-sabotage any opportunity that is presented to me to date someone, and I'll explain further. With men that treat me how I think I should rightfully be treated, I tend to have my guard up and don't tend to trust them, which makes them in turn lose interest in me, because how does it look for someone to be putting in effort to be with somebody that like isn't even willing to like let their guard down? I feel like I give very much mixed signals because of the fact that I just have a lack of trust in men. I then in turn resort to like self-isolation and like a hyper fixation of like, oh, I'll like work through the problem of me like not trusting men by like isolating and doing like the inner work and like hyper fixating and focusing on myself and like what I need to do to like love myself and blah blah blah. Get into like this really like hyper fixated moment of like myself. That only works so much when you're going through a healing journey, because of the fact that you have to like go out and actually experience shit. It doesn't matter how much inner work I do on myself and like how much I isolate myself and stay to myself, I'm not going to be able to learn and know how to do certain things when it comes to relationships, navigating through like the trauma and feelings that I have when it comes to my past experiences with dating men, unless I actually date a man, which like is very scary. I'm not gonna hold you, very scary. Also easier said than done. Nowadays everybody wants to like have situationships and flings and all this stuff, which I say everybody, me included, because that's literally what I did. That's like the closest I think a person has gotten to me, which obviously didn't end well because both of us were just traumatized and perpetuating rituals with each other of not committing to one another but wanting commitment from one another. It was a stupid toxic cycle. I feel like I need to stop that and get back into just being open. And like I know like vulnerability, like trusting your intuition when it comes to like being vulnerable with people, you know, not settling for bullshit and blah 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 blah. I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of just talking in circles. It's weird navigating dating, especially at this day and age with like online dating now, social media being highlight reel of life, and like how people want to be perceived and actually act in all reality. How am I supposed to be in a relationship with someone when I'm not genuinely willing to let my guard down enough to be perceived or to like actually be seen for like who I really am as a person? Both advertising the good and the bad that I have to offer, because we all have good and bad. No one is 100% perfect. It's just difficult. I'm trying to make sure that I get this bleach really worked in, but it's kind of making me nervous because like my hair is like clumpy and I don't really know if I'm getting my roots or not. I haven't bleached my hair like this with my hair being this long in a hot minute. Please be enough. I'm just gonna lather my head, so y'all enjoy the process. I need to concentrate and make sure I'm getting everything because I really only got one shot right now. Hair reveal in 3, 2, 1. I am a blonde girly. So yeah, I'm a blonde now, and honestly, I really like it. I'm feeling it a lot. It's weird because last time I was blonde, we were in like quarantine, and I almost said graduated college. Bitch, you wish you graduated college. And I had just dropped out of college. When I kind of continue on with what I was saying in the beginning of the video, I feel like my thoughts were very scattered. And so what I did was I got my iPad and I typed just little bulletins basically of what I wanted to say, because I feel like this whole situation is very like just a lot to digest or whatever, and I want to make sure that I'm like explaining myself properly. I just have noticed that like if not all of them, a good amount of the guys that I have talked to in my past are all like popping out with boyfriends, and it made me realize that I'm very much the problem. Not in the sense that what they were doing was tolerable, because a lot of them, they just weren't treating me how I wanted to be treated, and also overstepped my boundaries for sure in the most parts, but in the sense that I just also wasn't really giving it a fair shot from the beginning to begin with anyways, because if we're being honest, I don't allow myself to get vulnerable with people. I have a hard time being vulnerable with people, which is just kind of like, I know I'm always saying it and it's not like an excuse or anything, but I just do genuinely have a hard time being vulnerable with people, and especially being vulnerable with someone that I'm supposed to be like intimately with and like terms of like an intimate like relationship. I will admit I am not willing to let my guard down for any man. Like, I'm just not, and I'm really trying to work towards doing that, or so I keep trying to tell myself I am, but I'm actually not taking the proper steps to doing so, which is apparent in the proof that all these men literally have significant others. Yeah, I'll say I don't allow guys to get close enough to me to the point where they feel like they have a secure spot in my life, or vice versa, even though I really want a secure spot in a man's life or in anyone's life that I'm dating. And that has to do with just bad relationships that I've had in the past. Kind of just realized that a lot more recently. I feel like I'm always trying to make sure that I can evacuate the situation before the other person leaves me, because I have abandonment issues, obviously, which isn't like healthy. And quite frankly, I need to explain and express my feelings and where I'm coming from. I feel like that is very much a trauma response and a fear of abandonment, but also fear of confrontation. I feel like a lot of times I have a fear of confrontation because of the fact that when I was younger, being brought up, I constantly felt like my feelings and me speaking as a person was not being validated or heard. And I realized one day at work that like I get really annoyed when people I'm talking to make me feel like I have to like repeat what I'm saying, or like they just don't understand what I'm saying. And then one day I was like getting annoyed at this person sitting there like, why am I feeling so like annoyed by you asking like questions, like having me restate what I've said already like 3 or 4 times. And while it can be annoying, it really stems back to the fact that I hate not feeling like I'm being heard or understood. And so to avoid feeling like I'm not heard or understood, I'll just leave. Like, I'll just see my way out the door, which is like not healthy. Probably is a very big reason as to why I'm still single. I'm sorry if y'all can hear the cars out there. It rained and I don't know, the window just be windowing. Yeah, my window is barely cracked and it sounds like the window's wide open, like as if we're sitting next to the damn window. And I don't know how to fix that. But for now, please just bear with me. But on to the next thing. I talked about self-sabotaging and how I tend to self-sabotage so that I don't have to be vulnerable with said men that I am trying to engage with romantically. Which once again, I acknowledge that. And that brings me to my next point. I tend to hyper fixate on myself then. I tend to retreat and become really hyper fixated on bettering myself and working on myself. You can only work on yourself as much as it benefits you, to be honest. Like, yeah, I can sit here and dedicate a year, 2 years, 3 years to working on myself and like knowing myself more. I feel like I'm very much at a spot now where I'm realizing that I'm knowing myself a lot more, in the sense of like certain things that trigger me and certain things that I want and crave from a person intimately, and things I want from my relationships in life. I can sit here and study for 5 years on how to drive a car, but until I drive a car and have driven a car and actually practice the act of driving a car, I'm not gonna know how to drive a car, let alone get better at driving a car. That, I hope that like kind of like makes sense to y'all on like what I'm saying. I can only sit here and prep myself and prepare myself to be in a relationship for so long before I actually have to take the steps to be in a relationship and process through the triggers that I'm experiencing thus in that experience, and figure out how to move and navigate through that just as much as the other person is too. And I've come to realize that I just wasn't willing to do that with another person. Granted, some of the candidates were just not, I don't want to say not worthy of that from me, but it just wasn't gonna work out even if I was willing to, because they were on some fuck shit, to be honest. It's like I do kind of want a relationship, but I don't necessarily know how or when the opportunity is going to present itself again, because I'm kind of just turned off from people too at the moment. And I also haven't met anyone that I'm willing to try. Okay, that's a lie, but there's this one guy that I still think about till this day, and like he was a sneaky link or whatever for like a year and a half. And like, I don't know, like a lot of the stuff that we went through together, it was for sure a little toxic, not gonna lie. It was kind of a little bit toxic. That's the point. But I don't know, I just feel like we had a really good connection. But then again, a part of me also second guesses the connection that I think we had, and think that I'm mistaking it for something that it wasn't, because of the fact that like the lies that he ended up confessing to later, and the betrayal or whatever. Is that toxic? Is that just me admitting that I like toxicity? I don't know. But I think about him sometimes, and I'm like, we could have been something magical had we both just like had our heads on right and communicated, I feel like, more effectively. That's pretty much it for this conversation, really. I don't really have an answer for this conversation. I haven't really made any progress on my dating scenarios, to be honest. I did download Tinder again, so maybe we'll get some luck, but I don't really know at this point. And I keep sitting here thinking about a boy, and for those of y'all that are asking, yes, he was a Capricorn, but he was a January Capricorn. I'm a December Capricorn. And I don't know, like, I will say, like, out of everybody, Capricorn man. Evil, but I still think about him a lot. But yeah, I'm saying it was nice talking with you guys. Comment down below how we feel about my hair. If you don't like it, you're a homophobic ass hater. If you do like it, thanks, babe. And to all my she, theys, and gays, stay positive, elevated, and lifted. I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.